Good evening. We are back to the study of the Spirit's book. We started last week, Sleep and Dreams, and by the end, I brought some texts from Evolution in Two Worlds and Mechanisms of Mediumship. I just want to go back, and I'll ask Philip to read a couple of paragraphs from the Mechanisms of Mediumship. Because it covers for those that are joining for the first time or don't remember for what we studied last week. Philip, can you read just the paragraph in bold? Just two paragraphs in bold that you're going to read.
Okay. Just as a sensitive person, when outside their physical body, may be drawn to a place suggested by a hypnotist, obeying conditioned reflexes during artificial hypnosis, so too does a person in natural hypnosis, sleep, follow the direction of their own desires. Their conditioned reflexes determine the scope of their actions beyond the physical body, leading them to places where their thoughts are focused. During this state, they align with spiritual entities that resonate with their inclinations, whether for constructive good or harmful negativity. Through these nightly interactions, they weave the path of experiences that will be essential for their spiritual growth in the future.
So just to recap what we discussed last week. So when we go to sleep, dreams can be of two types: our own experiences in the spiritual world, where our perispirit or spiritual body interacts with the spiritual world, with other spirits, and with whatever it's attracted to. As André Luis says here, their conditioned reflexes determine the scope of their actions beyond the physical body, leading them to places where their thoughts are focused. So we are where we want to be, consciously or unconsciously. The other type of dream that we're not going to discuss here is the dream that is a product of our body, our brain, rehashing whatever we did during the day, and it's normally the very confused dream that doesn't make any sense of anything. So that we shouldn't focus on that. We should focus on our experiences in the spiritual world. So during this state, we align with the spiritual entities that connect with us at the same vibration, resonate with our inclinations. Whether for constructive good or harmful negativity. So that's what I wanted to bring from the last week. So we go back now to the Spirit's book. We stopped on question 403. We're going to start today on question 404, when we're going to start discussing the significance attributed to dreams. Okay?
Start.
404.
What should we think of the significance attributed to dreams? Dreams are not indications of the future, as is often alleged by fortune tellers. It is absurd to believe that a certain kind of dream reveals the occurrence of a specific event. However, they are indications in the sense that they present images which are real for the spirit, though they may have nothing to do with its present physical life. In many cases, dreams are a memory and sometimes an intuition of the future, if permitted by God, or the vision of something that is taking place in some other place to which the soul has traveled. Have you not heard of the many instances proving that individuals may appear to friends and family in dreams, warning them of what is happening to them? What are apparitions, if not the soul or spirit of individuals who are communicating with you, When you are certain that what you saw has actually taken place, is it not proof that it was not a figment of your imagination, especially if what you saw was something that you had not thought of when you were awake?
Okay, so here, how can we go further into what the spirits are trying to tell us? So first thing, dreams are not indication of the future. So when there are even books published that discuss the significance of dreams, if you dream of a, I don't remember anything of those books, but I remember that you dream of losing the teeth, it means one thing, someone is going to die and things like that. So this is all not real. What is real is we have experiences in the spiritual world. We go to the spiritual world, we interact with other spirits that may be incarnated, may be discarnated. We may watch an event happening that maybe not where we are, maybe in a distant place, in the spiritual world or in the physical world. We may have a conversation with someone, a spirit, incarnated or discarnated. We may receive guidance, we may receive assistance, we may go on the negative side to places, difficult places, because we are attracted somehow by our own mind taking us to those places. How do we pack all of this when we wake up? And we talked about this last week, right? The recollections that you bring from the spiritual world, if you bring recollections, some people have clear recollections, some people have fragmented recollection, some people have no recollection, but we all dream, we all go to the spiritual world for part of our sleep. Now, because our brain works very effectively in creating its own connections with what it perceives, the recollection, fragmented recollection, is going to be may be made whole by our brain with information that we already have in our physical world. So that's why we cannot take it literally, the interpretation, what we remember from our dreams. And I mentioned this last week, that if we dream of, I met my grandmother, I went to this specific place with her, we did this specific, let's say, shopping, the details may not be real. The dream with my grandmother and spending time with her is what was real in a sense. So, normally when you have dreams with things that you were not thinking, it's a sign that you really had the experience there in the spiritual world. Now, we are creative. Our brain works hard to make us think of things. So we cannot really think that everything that we have dreamt, it happened or it did occur in the spiritual world. Now, we are going to talk about this in the next chapter, which is meeting individuals in our dreams. But here they talk about apparitions. Apparitions, nowadays we call materialization, right? The spirits. The spirits here talk about apparitions if it's not the soul or spirit of individuals that are communicating with you. But this means when we are awake, right? What they are trying to say is, what happens in our dreams, it is real. Now, our recollection of it, it may not be entirely or even most of it real, or small parts of it may not be real and most of it may be real. Everything can happen, but what we cannot do is literally believe that 100% of what we remember from our dream really happened in the spiritual world, okay? It's Ana or Marcio?
It's me, Marcio, this time, João. How are you? João, sometimes we hear some people talking about astral projections.
Yes.
So is that a dream, or how do we explain, or how do we classify that?
You want to go on? Astral projection is an experience, is a mediumistic experience. Okay, when you go in a state of trance, you go into some places in the spiritual world and have experiences, interactions, or experiences there during a trance mediumship. Okay, it could be in an unconscious state of mind, meaning when you come back, you may remember parts of it or not all of it, but it's not a dream. In the sense that the dream is a natural occurrence, and astral projection is not a natural occurrence, but it has plenty of similarities between those, because in a dream you are going places in the spiritual world and you are having experiences. So in that sense, you can compare to an astral projection, but astral projection, it happens in a state of trance, not in a dream state. Okay, was it clear? No, Marcia. Good.
I have a follow-up, João. Ana now.
Hi.
Hi. So is this the ability of astral projection? Is it more of a psychic ability, or why is it considered mediumship? Is it how is it connected to the spiritual world?
Okay, so it's an excellent question, Anna, because if you, let's say you are a medium, Anna, but if you have an astral projection and during a trance, you go to the spiritual world, you talk to your grandfather, and your grandfather tells you a message that you should relate to the group, that's mediumship, right? You are interpreting, bringing the information from the spiritual world. But if you go there and you watch a lot of things happen in the spiritual world, and you come back and tell us, I saw this and that, and I saw this individual, I saw, this is psychic ability, because you are not being an intermediary of anything. You are doing, you yourself are bringing the information. Okay? Was clear? Again, psychic abilities and mediumistic abilities, a lot of times we mix them, but in reality, your own experiences that you are not being an intermediary of the spiritual world is a psychic. If you are being an intermediary of the spiritual world, meaning a spirit is communicating through you, or you are, you know, like I said, you talk to a spirit and bring the message from the spirit, then you are working as a medium.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay. All right. Next.
405. We often see things in dreams that appear to be premonitions, but they do not come to fruition. What is the reason for this? The spirit may experience these things while the body does not. The spirit sees what it wishes to see because it goes out looking for it. During sleep, the spirit is always more or less under the influence of matter. Consequently, it is never completely free from human ideas, and the objects of its waking thoughts may conjure up what it desires or fears, producing an effect of the imagination. When the mind is preoccupied with an idea, it is very quick to connect everything it sees to that idea.
Okay, a quick example here. I dream that I won the lottery, right? And then I didn't win the lottery. Well, it's not a premonition. It's I wish I want to win the lottery. I'm desperate to win the lottery. I need money. I'm looking for it, as the Spirit says here. So there is no lottery in the spiritual world, right? There is no money in the spiritual world. But because I desire it so much and it occupies my waking thoughts, as they say here, I go into the spiritual world and something that is happening there that has not much to do with winning the lottery, but immediately I associate my thoughts with winning the lottery. When I wake up, I tell myself, oh, I won the lottery. I dreamt that I won the lottery. Then they will wait for it to happen, and it doesn't. So appears to be premonitions, but they do not come to fruition. Another example, you dream of someone that dies, right? A loved one that dies, which is on the negative side of it. It absolutely does not mean that the person is going to die. It's a worry that you have. Of course, we all worry about losing a loved one, that you take to the spiritual world, and in the presence of spirits there, you may encounter that person. We were both alive and you are both sleeping, and you meet in the spiritual world, and for some reason you bring that idea that the person has died. It's not a premonition. Let's again, is it impossible to happen? No, it's not impossible. You may have a premonition in the spiritual world that is real. Again, remember, we have free will. We can always change the outcome of things that happen to us. But we cannot take it literally, all the premonitions we have in our dreams, as things that are likely to become reality, because many of them are just wishful thinking of ourselves, or some other fears that we have, that during our dream sleep state, we externalize these dreams in the spiritual world. Okay. Okay.
406.
Yeah.
When we see living persons whom we know quite well doing things in dreams that they would never dare do in reality, is it a mere effect of the imagination? That they would never dare, how do you know? Their spirit may visit yours as yours may visit theirs, and you do not always know what they may be thinking. Besides, in dreams, you often apply to individuals you know, and according to your own desires, what took place or is taking place in other existences.
Okay, that's more of a complex question here. It can be two things, right? It can be you seeing someone doing things in the spiritual world that you wouldn't believe they would do in the physical world, or it can be you projecting on them what things that you don't want to admit to yourself. We all have many imperfections. We all hide many of our inferior tendencies, including from ourselves. And it may be an opportunity to act on them in the spiritual world, either ourselves, or projecting on others, or others doing things that we wouldn't believe that they were capable of doing. But again, we are all capable of doing much more than what we show externally. We all have our hidden world that we don't want others to know, and we don't even sometimes want ourselves to admit that we have those inferior tendencies. So the answer from the spirits, yes, it is an experience. But again, let us remember that the recollection we bring from the spiritual world, it may be fragmented with our own connections, and we can create a story based in things that are not the reality of the story that we experience in the spiritual world. Okay?
.407. Is complete sleep necessary for the emancipation of the spirit? No. The spirit recovers its freedom as soon as the senses become drowsy. It takes advantage of every moment of bodily rest to be free. The second that the body begins to get weary, the spirit detaches from the body. The weaker the body state, the freer the spirit. This is why dozing or mere dulling of the senses often presents the same images as dreaming.
Yeah, one thing that here for us to understand is we have a state where we are not fully asleep, but not fully awake. A transition from sleeping, from being awake to sleep. In that phase, we are already interacting to the spiritual world, and we are maybe seeing things from the spiritual world. I heard more than once people telling that when they go to sleep, they will, when they are in the process of going to sleep, a spirit appears and they get scared, they wake up, and then they cannot get to sleep. Yes, it happens. And but the thing is, we are surrounded by spirits at all times, right? The fact that we are not seeing them doesn't mean that they are not here. It's just that in this state, sometimes we can see them. And depending on our state of mind, we may get scared of what we are seeing, or afraid, or get a nice sensation depending on the spirit we're meeting. So we interact with the spiritual world, start interacting in the moment that we are dozing, as Kardec says here, the dulling of the senses, right? Okay, it's very common.
408.
Yeah.
We sometimes seem to distinctly hear words that have no connection with what we are thinking. What is the cause of this? Yes, you often hear words and even whole sentences, especially when your senses begin to grow drowsy. It is sometimes the faint echo of a spirit who wants to communicate with you.
Yeah, again, same thing in the last, what we just discussed, right? If a spirit is trying to communicate with us, when we are in this state of transition into sleep, we may hear the spirit, what the spirit is saying. And it can cause some people to get afraid and awake, leave this state of drowsiness, and then it becomes difficult to fall asleep again. Or it may be the start of the communication with that spirit, and you enter into the communication. And most of the times you won't remember when you wake up on the next day. But of course, if you hear words and you get scared and you wake up, you are going to remember, because you are going to remember exactly why you woke up suddenly. You didn't fall asleep because you heard something. Again, it's the spirits are around us. Can they communicate with us when we are falling asleep? Yes, they can, and they will take the opportunity if for positive or negative reasons, they will take the opportunity to communicate with us if they can, and if we are open to it. Then
Is this in our vocabulary today, what we call meditation?
No,
No.
no, meditation. You can enter into a trance state through meditation. And that's a different story. Then you can have all experiences of a trance state that started with a meditation. But this is not meditation. This is just you falling asleep and the period that you're falling asleep. Now, can you, during the meditation, can you enter into this state and start hearing words, voices, etc.? Yes, if you are moving from meditation to either a sleep state or a trance state.
Because there are a lot of people who meditate that say that they get a lot of answers for their questions. So I was wondering if they get into this in between that they start, connecting more with the spiritual world.
It's possible. It's one possibility. The other possibility is really, we listening to your inner self, right? Because we have spirits around us trying to influence us, the good spirits, our guardian angels, our familiar spirits. We are the ones that many times don't pay attention to them, right? Because it's there. So in the state of meditation, a well-done meditation that helps us enter into a state of calmness and in contact with our inner self, we can listen, in a sense, to these inspirations that come from the spiritual world. Or it may be what we just described here, hearing voices, words. But I would probably guess that is more people connecting to their inner selves and listening to their spiritual guides, familiar spirits, and this type of spirits. Okay.
Well, the answer was always there. You need to enter that state of meditation to be able to retrieve it. So it's your own answer, not necessarily from an outside source.
Yeah. Okay.
409.
Yes.
Quickly, I am assuming that the answer is yes, but all these dream things can also happen if you take a nap during the day, right? Because
Yes.
we always say, oh, when you wake up next day, I said, no, but
Yes.
if we sleep during the day, you take a nap.
Anytime you sleep.
Okay.
Yes, you can, and again, it's a good question because time in the spiritual world is different from time here. So you can sleep for 15 minutes here and have a whole experience in the spiritual world that it would take longer than 15 minutes, but because time there may be different from time here.
Just have to think of people work nights, right?
Yeah,
They have to sleep during the day.
yeah, during the night shift, yeah.
Yeah, actually there was an article today, I think today on the New York Times talking about how to, for those that work at night, how to have a better sleep during the day.
How to produce a fake night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
When not yet half asleep and with our eyes closed, we often see distinct images and highly detailed figures. Is this a product of our imagination or an actual effect of vision? The body being numb, the spirit tries to break free from its shackles. It is transported and sees, and if the sleep were deeper, the vision would be a dream.
Yeah. Again, we are already entering into this stage of being half here, half there. So we are seeing things in the spiritual world, but I'm not going to discard the product of our imagination that may also happen, as we saw before, depending on how much we are focusing on one thing during our awakened state, right? But you know, many times it is experiences that we are already having in the spiritual world, that we go there, you know, what we mentioned, Joanna, in the astral projection, and Marcio. You know, this can be the beginning of our being transported in the spiritual world, that in a astral projection will be in a state of trance. This is a natural state where we go to sleep, and it happens to everybody, and we can have this this interval where we are getting to sleep, and we have already some interactions with the spiritual world, that most of the times, if we wake up immediately, we are going to remember. If we go to sleep, we are not going to remember.
(410).
Yeah.
Sometimes, when asleep or half asleep, we have ideas that seem to be excellent, but despite every effort we make to recall them, these ideas are wiped from our memory upon waking. From where do these ideas originate? They are the consequence of the freedom of the spirit, who frees itself from the body and enjoys the use of other faculties when free. They are often advice given to you by other spirits. What is the purpose of such ideas and advice, since we forget them anyway? Those ideas often belong to the spirit world rather than the physical world. However, though the body may forget them, the spirit does not, and the idea reoccurs to it at the right moment when awake, as a sudden inspiration.
We talked about this last week, right? A little bit, the recommendation that if you dream something and you want to remember the dream, when you wake up in the middle of the night, you should either say it out loud or record it or write it, because many times what happens is we go back to sleep and then we forget our dream, and then you wake up and you think, oh, I had this dream and I thought I was going to remember, now I cannot remember anything. So of course, when we read some books of André Luiz that he describes spirits watching presentations in the spiritual world, lecture talks, right? And André Luiz more than once asked the mentor if the incarnates will remember when they are back, and it depends on their needs and on their abilities to make use of what they have learned. So in the book Between Heaven and Earth, the mother that went to visit her young son that was living in a spiritual colony that had discarnated, the mentor tells André Luiz that she's not going to remember because it would be worse for them if she remembered the details. She was only to have to remember a pleasant dream with her son without details. For those that receive advice in the spiritual world that applies to our physical existence, we may remember, we may have an intuition, but again, we as eternal spirits, everything that we receive becomes part of who we are. The ideas go to our conscience, even if we don't bring here to the physical world. The eternal spirit will have stored the idea. So these ideas are advice. We may forget here in the physical world, but it is kept in the eternal spirit, and it may come back. It may come to the incarnate spirit if needed, as they say here, as a sudden inspiration. I don't know who said that. If it was not Einstein that said that all the inventions are 90% perspiration and that 10% inspiration, right? I don't know if it was Einstein or who said that. But again, where does the inspiration comes from? it's a combination of information they receive in the spiritual world with their own knowledge, right? It's not, you know, you're not going to invent something if you have no knowledge. You need to have something there in your spirit, eternal spirit, mind, to be able to create something. But you may access it as an inspiration, as they say here, to help, but you need to do the work. That's what the important to understand. If you don't do anything, it's not good to fall on your lap, right? But we spoke last week about, you know, composers that wake up with music in their heads, painters that wake up and start painting what they have seen in the spiritual world, and they reproduce what they have seen in the spiritual world, and it is a sudden inspiration, as they call here, right? So everything that nothing is lost. All our experiences in the spiritual world are kept in the eternal spirit's mind. Not everything is brought to the physical world for different reasons, and it may be that we don't need it. It may be that we have no use for it in the physical world, or we cannot connect the dots in the physical world to make sense of what we have experienced in the spiritual world. And so it's, you know, it's better for us not to have the recollection. But again, it's there if we need it, and sometimes we can access. Hi, Paco. Yes.
Yeah. I'm asking myself, and once again, I'm thinking out loud,
Okay.
whether behind that consciousness that we're talking about in physicality, there must be some kind of a place that is constantly linked to the spiritual world. Because if you're telling me that I probably could have learned something there that is not in my front consciousness, but somehow tomorrow or a week after it's going to come up. It's going to come up as an inspiration.
Yes.
So I wonder if there's a part in me that is, call it, if you want to call it unconscious, because we're talking about what conscious, but let me call it unconscious. Isn't that a part of the unconscious that is directly linked to the spiritual world? I'm asking, I'm not making a statement.
You know, if you...
What's a possibility? I don't know.
If you think of us spirits, we are the spirit that have a spiritual body and a physical body. The thoughts, the conscience, it's in the spirit, right? So everything that we learn, you can call, you know, how we call the body of the, I forgot the name of the mind, the one that before the perispirit, the forms of the perispirit.
The Tabbateric?
No, the Tabbateric is the physical body. No, from the mind that creates the perispirit. The mind of the spirit. Okay, I'll remember later. So everything is stored in the spirit, Paco. So if it's you, the eternal spirit, Paco has all the, you, not Paco, but you, the eternal spirit, has all the information there. Now, not all this information is brought here. Can you call unconscious? Yes, you can call unconscious. It may be the best terminology that we have here, because it's not on your conscious mind and it's not on your subconscious mind, because if it's in the subconscious, it's already in the physical brain,
Exactly.
right? It's the unconscious, which may not be in the physical brain, but it is in the spirit that can manifest.
I agree. That I agree.
Spirit, yeah. The spiritual body, in the physical body.
Yeah. But so you're telling me, yeah, that could be that link constant with the spirit world.
Yes. So you have this experience in the spiritual world. You watch a talk from St. Francis of Assisi, right? You may come here, wake up and say, wow, I dreamed with St. Francis of Assisi, but you don't remember anything that happened there. But your you, the eternal spirit, you have that information. Everything that you watch there and learn there, it's there. And suddenly you need something from it, from that talk that you heard on a, let's say, if you talk about St. Francis of Assisi, it will be a charitable thing or a thing related to helping others. Suddenly you are inspired to do something to help someone in a specific way. It may have been you accessing that learning that you had there. That is, you
Exactly.
know,
I'm going to retrieve that. I'm going to.
yes, that you retrieve there from, because it belongs to you. It's
Exactly. Yeah.
just not manifesting the physical body.
Thank you.
411.
411.
Does the incarnate spirit, when it is free from matter and acting as a spirit, know the time of its death? It often has an intuition of it. It sometimes has a very clear vision of it that allows the intuition to be retained upon waking. This is what gives some the ability to foresee the time of their death with perfect accuracy.
Again, when we come to a new reincarnation, in our reincarnation planning, there is many things that are subject to our free will, but the estimated time that we are going to spend in the physical world is also pre-programmed. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen. We can you can discarnate earlier or later, but let's say we come here to live 70 years. You know, you can die when you are 60 or 70 of natural causes or for some things that it had to happen. So it is with us in our and in the eternal spirit. The information is stored somewhere. So can we have an intuition of it? Yes. Do we see very often? Not really, right? We don't hear people saying that, oh, I dreamt that I'm going to sleep to die in 5 years' time. I know of some people that have told about that they are going to live 3, 4, 5 more years or 10 more years or I don't know what. But again, the free will comes into play at all times. So, you know, you are expected to live 70 years, but you decided to practice extreme sports and you have an accident and die. Was it planned? Well, plan was for you to have a death in an accident, but it didn't need to be so early. Like you caused the accident because of your carelessness, right? Can you dream that you are going to die in an accident like that? Yes. Does it mean it's real? Not necessarily, and many times not even a reality. But some people, they can have this intuition and dream of it. But I don't think we should be too much. If someone tells you that, oh, I dreamed that I'm going to die in 10 years, it's the type of information that I don't think we have much to use to do with it, right? Unless there is something we can do to help the person, if the person is afraid, or if the person is, some assistance we can provide. I don't see any much more usefulness to this type of information. Okay.
Just a curiosity, when the Brazilian speaker Elaha, his father passed, discarnated
Last year.
2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
He told his mother, I'm going today at lunchtime, but she said, quiet, have a lunch, have your meal, and take your nap. He took his nap and didn't wake up.
Yeah.
He told
So-
the family, I'm
Yeah,
not today.
you know,
Oh my gosh.
Chico Xavier said that he was going to discarnate in a day that everybody was going to be very happy, right? And he discarnated in the day that Brazil won the World Cup. So of course, but Chico is a much more elevated spirit, right? Yeah. It's interesting when you hear Divaldo talking about his recent experiences, right? That he spoke with Joana de Angelis there in the spiritual world, and she told him, not time yet, and then he asked when then, and she said, later, right?
When you're ready.
When the world is ready, or when you're ready. So, you know, if Divaldo is not having this information, I don't think many other people are having this information accurately, right?
Yeah, I wonder what it means, but accuracy, right? Perfect accuracy. What's that?
Well, that's what Elaha's father
That
happened.
is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, that's perfect accuracy, right? But
The year, is that good enough?
yeah,
In that year?
I think that for some people it will be helpful, for some people it will be not helpful. So yeah, very distressed. So I don't know if it's something that if it doesn't happen for the vast majority of us, it's always for a good reason, right? Okay.
For 12?
Yeah.
Do spirit activities when the body is sleeping or resting fatigue the body? Yes, because the spirit is attached to the body, like a balloon tied to a post. As the post is shaken by the movements of the balloon, the activity of the spirit reacts upon the body and may cause it to feel tired.
May cause it is the key word here, okay? So can the activities of the spirit while the body is sleeping fatigue the body? May happen, but most of the times it doesn't, because the sleep is for the body, the physical body, to rest. It's a necessity of the physical body to rest. Now, we all experience, sometimes we have a very disturbed night, right? With a lot of strange dreams and things that are happening, and sometimes we feel that we're more, we're awake and asleep at the same time, and you keep waking and sleeping and waking, and you wake up the next morning tired, right? That is what they are trying to say here, right? If we cannot find peace and rest during our sleep, we may feel very tired the next day. But that is it is, I think it's more of because of mind activity of the spirit when sleeping, that cannot really disconnect from the physical world, then actions, I don't think that if a spirit goes to Australia during our sleep, we are going to wake up tired because it was a long trip, right? It's more of an experience, a different kind of experience, right? If you run the marathon, Luis, or you that run the marathon during our sleep, you're not going to wake up tired the next day, right? You may wake up happy, but so I think the tire here is really disturbing movements by the spirit in terms of what's happening with the mind of the spirit during the sleep. Okay.
It happened before to me, like wake up like crying. So I woke up like tired. I was physically having some, let's say, consequences of the dream.
Yeah.
but kind of, I don't know how to explain the connection with the spiritual world in that.
You know, you woke up crying because of something that happened in the spiritual world, some experiences you had there. The fact that you woke up crying means that the experience in the spiritual world was brought to your physical body through your brain, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't be crying.
Yeah,
You may dream that you are crying, but you're not really crying if
Yeah.
it's happening there. If you are physically crying, it's because you brought it to your physical body.
so my physical brain, it's kind of working
Yes,
and bringing that.
yes. So that may explain also the tiredness, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So if you think we didn't talk about sleepwalking here, and we are going to get into there later in this chapter, not in this subject, but someone sleepwalks through the night, they may wake up tired because the physical body had activity, right? Even if you're not conscious of the activity. But yeah, Márcio or Ana.
Not this time. So, João, we're talking a lot about going to the spiritual world, but there's also a possibility that we could be in this plane as well, right? We fall asleep, and I guess that would be some kind of a projection as well. And let's say we go to somebody's house, or perhaps even become an obsessor or have an obsessor. Is that also possible? A possibility?
Yeah, when we talk about going to the spiritual world, we are not talking about the spiritual world being a remote place that is far from where we are. The spiritual world is around us. Spirits are around us. So if you go to sleep and you dream that you are in your sister's house, you know, you are in the spiritual world in your sister's house that has everything, has the spiritual world connected to it, right? We have spirits around us. Where are these spirits? Are here. So this is, if I start sleeping here and I start dreaming that I'm here at the center, I am in the spiritual world here at the center. So I may be interacting with incarnates or discarnates here. So we are not talking here and going to faraway places. And actually, and in the study that I think was Emmanuel last week that we brought, it talks about spirits of a lesser evolvement. When they sleep, they stay very close to their physical body. They don't move away further. They stay around. We talked about this last week, right? So if you stay around, you are where you are, right? You go to your neighbor, you go to the shop, but you're not having an experience in the spiritual world that is far away from where you actually are. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Anna. Okay. Any final questions on sleep and dreams? We're done with it. Well, we continue on the subject because next week we are going to start with spirit visits of living individuals. You can think about, what Anna just asked about meeting incarnated individuals. And again, at the time of Kardec, and we're going to talk about this next week, of course, if you lived here and your family lived in a different place, there was no communication, and the experiences would be much more significant than nowadays that you communicate with everybody everywhere in the world at all times, right? But still, it happens in our sleep state, the interaction with other living individuals. But we come back to it next week. Okay. Just a reminder: this coming Monday is President's Day. So we will be closed here at SGNY. We won't have our Monday work here, okay? This Saturday, the talk on the United States Spiritist Federation is a very interesting one. It's by Humberto Schubert. If you remember him, he was at the symposium. He already gave talks. He is one of the authors of the book Science of Life After Death, together with Dr. Alexander Moreira Almeida. And he focused on the philosophic aspect of Spiritism. But he's going to talk about the neurocognitive aspects of empathy, which is a very interesting subject when we look around and we see so much lack of empathy in our world today. This Sunday, we are going to study the Medium's book. We are closed on Monday, but on Sunday, we are going to study the Medium's book. Book club will finish Paul and Stephen next week, chapter 10, and then the following week, or February 27th, we start Light in the Darkness by Joana de Angelis through the psychography of Divaldo Franco. So we're going to the psychological aspect of our existence, Joana de Angelis, okay? I think that's it. Carol, can you do our final prayer?
Certainly. Thank you very much, John. Thank you, Elmo. And thank you, Philip, for reading for us this evening. Infinite Creator and Supreme Intelligence, we give thanks to be together again for our studies of the Spirit's book, Book 2, Chapter 8, about sleep and dreams. Our recollection of our dreams may not be 100%. The dreams can occur and retained by the spirit, but not received through the physical organs. Premonitions may be associated with the influences of matter, imagination, and wishful thinking. As we start to doze off to sleep, the senses become dulled, and it is possible a spirit may begin faint communications with us if we are receptive. Record dreams if possible by writing them down or speaking them out loud, the dreams that you have had upon waking. Also, the eternal spirit will remember the details and will have the information available just at the right time as needed. The activity of the spirit reacts upon the body. We give thanks to the spiritual benefactors and the good spirits for guiding and inspiring us this evening. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us, and for our loved ones, our teachers, our directors, our counselors, our mediums, the workers, and all participants. We pray for inner peace, and especially now for world peace and for those who are suffering in the physical and spiritual worlds. We pray for our center, SGNY, and all Spiritist centers throughout the world, that they may grow, prosper, expand, and be protected throughout the day and throughout the night. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to our family, friends, loved ones, and co-workers. May we remind ourselves to go forth as beacons of love, of light, of peace, of service, and charity, which is love in action. May peace and love prevail. So be it.